What's going on, guys? Nathan Barna here from Optimal Evolution. Today I wanted to show you my 3 favorite core exercises. But before we get into that, I gotta explain a little bit, get a little deeper on what the core actually is and how it functions and what some common things tend to happen when it's not functioning properly and why it might not be functioning properly. So when it comes to your core, it's not just your ab muscles that people typically associate with your core. You've got an outer unit, which are the kind of the show muscles, and you've also got an inner unit that consists of your transverse abdominis, which wraps around, and your multifidus in your back, your pelvic floor, and even your diaphragm, that all need to work in conjunction to create stability in your body, in your spine, in your back specifically. So if your inner unit isn't functioning properly, and a lot of times it can be turned off, or I think of it as a volume knob, where if it's working properly, you've got the volume turned up. If it's not working properly, there's a spectrum of how low it ends up getting turned down, depending on how much it's not functioning properly. So a few of the things that I see that cause this are: 1, poor diet. If you're eating things that are causing inflammation in your intestines, in your organs, in your gut, it's going to affect your body's ability to communicate with the muscles surrounding those organs. So your organs don't really have a direct pathway to tell you that they're in pain, so then they dump out into the muscles that are on the same neurological loop as the organs. So if you're not eating things that are in balance, creating harmony in your body, eating things that are causing more stress to your system, that will turn down the volume on your inner unit. If you are under a lot of stress, the same kind of thing. Your body's not effectively communicating with the muscles that are needed to stabilize. When it comes to your stabilizer muscles, those are the ones that are usually affected first if there's any kind of additional stress or anything that's creating an imbalance in the system. So step number 1, before you can even train the core effectively, is that you need to make sure your body and your physiology is in balance. You need to make sure your diet's on point. You need to make sure your recovery and your sleep and your rest is on point. And you need to make sure you're managing yourself and managing the stress in your life so that it can actually be functional in the first place. But now when it comes to my 3 favorite exercises, these are exercises that are actually going to help you train the inner unit and train the muscles that typically aren't functioning properly in the body. So the first one is called a jackknife. And this one will specifically target your lower abdominals. And a lot of times, if you pay attention, you might see a lot of people's bellies, lower bellies are distended. A lot of that's inflammation and bloating and even constipation sometimes. But part of it too is if your lower abdominals aren't properly activated to hold everything into place, then it's also going to create that distension. And this is also going to target your hip flexors. A lot of people's hip flexors can be overly developed and overutilized, but sometimes they're just not in balance with the rest of the system. So let me show you this. So jackknife, you're gonna need a Swiss ball, and the easiest way to get into it is just to roll out over it into a push-up position. And the higher you go, the easier it is. The lower you go, the harder it's gonna be. So once you get into a push-up position here, you're gonna wanna make sure your back is set. I had to wear a shirt to clip this microphone on, but you wanna maintain a neutral spine here. Your head, upper back, and then your butt should be in alignment with the natural curve in your low back. And then as you maintain that alignment, you're gonna draw your knees underneath you and then back out. Underneath and then back out. And notice I'm not rounding under and I'm not sagging either. And my hips aren't rising up. straight line. Boom. And another thing I wanted to mention when you are trying to train your inner unit, your stabilizer muscles, is they require a lot of time under tension. So when you're doing these kinds of exercises, you don't just want to treat it like your normal training load where you might do, 3 to 4 sets of 10 and just call it a day, because then you're ending up just training the prime movers again. To really target the stabilizers, you need to have at least 3 to 5 minutes of total time under tension. And a couple different ways to achieve that are you could just do a lot more reps, or I prefer to manipulate the tempo so that I can reach that 3 to 5 minute time window. So something like a jackknife, I might do 3 sets of 12 with short rest, but have a tempo of 3 seconds in, 3 seconds hold, and then 3 seconds back out. And this theme will play in with all of these different exercises. So the second one I'm going to show you is going to be a horse stance. Now this is a very fundamental movement, and anybody that has back issues, their low back is already hurting, something like this can be a good place to start because you're not directly loading the spine. And this is a relatively safe place for your body. So you're gonna wanna get in a 4-point stance position. You want even distribution between your hands and your knees. And then you wanna point the elbows back, bend them just enough so that your torso is parallel with the ground. And then just like the jackknife, just like these other exercises, you want your spine to be neutral. So sometimes what I'll do if I want to feel where that position is, I'll get a PVC pipe or a dowel rod or something, this metal pipe that I have that I like because it's got a little bit of weight to it. I'll put that on my back first, or if I'm working with a client, I'll put that on their back first, and then I'll make sure there's alignment here. And like I said, your head, your upper back, and your butt should be touching the pipe. And then if you want to make sure you've got enough curve in your low back, you can take your hand and put it in the crease, and you should just be able to fit the thick part of your hand in there. So from this position, and sometimes I'll keep this pipe on here just to know that I'm in the right position. So there's 3 levels primarily to this horse stance. There's actually more than that, but I primarily work with 3 of them. So first level is just to, well, I'll take that back. There's actually 4 levels that we primarily work with. First level is just to maintain this position and then work on breathing and then work on being able to draw the belly button in. And this is going to activate your transverse abdominis and just being able to hold that position. What you could do is you could get a string and wrap it around your core right on top of your belly button and then draw your belly button in so that you'll know you're doing it right if you've got the string to be loose versus tight if you're pushing out. So being able to hold this can just be an exercise in itself. That's level 1. Level 2 is called horse stance vertical, where you're gonna lift one hand up and one knee up just enough to fit a piece of paper. And this looks really easy, but it's actually pretty difficult. And just being able to hold this. And then obviously you would alternate, maintaining that position. And then level 2 is horse stance horizontal. So this one, you're gonna kick the leg back and then the arm's going to go forward at about a 45-degree angle with the thumb up and then draw back. Still while maintaining the position of the pipe and the 3 points of contact. And then the last level is horse stance dynamic, where you're actually gonna be a little less rigid with the spine, but actually allow for full range of motion. And touch the elbows together as you cross the body. And alternate. Boom. Okay, and so the last one is called supine lateral ball roll. And this one does a really good job. It's like a big bang exercise, and it helps to work all planes of movement. So you've got your sagittal plane, your frontal plane, and your transverse plane. And it actually works with all of those different systems. And it helps to actually train the sling systems of your body, which are very active when it comes to walking and running and using your body in its full range of motion. So you'll need a Swiss ball again. And you're gonna wanna grab that PVC pipe or a dowel rod or pipe. You're gonna want to roll out onto the ball just so that your upper back is on it and your head is resting in a neutral position. You don't want to go too far forward to where your head's crunched up. And if you're too far back, your head's going to be back. Just enough so your head is neutral. And then you're going to lay the pipe across your chest, across your nipple line, and just have it resting on your hands. And then there's two main progressions of this movement. So the first one is you just keep your feet in place. And then as you're maintaining this rod becomes your level. So you don't want to drop this level off any which way. And you want to be straight here across the body and straight here vertically. So level one is just to roll out until you feel like your balance is being challenged. And just hold that position. And make sure, again, you're level here, your level here, and your level here. And so usually I'll hold for anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds, and then I'll alternate to the other side. Same thing, roll out till you feel like your balance is challenged, and then make sure you're in alignment with your hips and your shoulders and your vertical alignment. Okay, and then level two is actually moving the feet and crab walking out into that position. And this will make it a little bit more challenging because you got more of your body weight to handle. Same thing. And the big thing to note here is the end positions are the most important positions. As you're transitioning, you can kind of be a little bit more lax, get to your end range of motion, and then lock yourself back into the position you want to be in. The other thing that's important here, and with all of these core exercises, is you want to keep the tongue on the roof of your mouth. So if you swallow, feel where your tongue goes, maintain it there. That's the physiological resting position that helps to integrate your cervical stabilizers as well. Boom. So, give those a try. Like I said, you want to get 3 to 5 minutes of total time under tension. So really take your time. It doesn't have to be full-on intensity to get the benefit. Even around 50 to 60% for that 3 to 5 minute duration is going to adequately train your stabilizers. And if you've got any kind of back issues, if you've got any kind of hip issues, these are going to be very good places to start to make sure your core is functioning properly, because that's where all of the other movement is going to stem from. So I hope you guys enjoy this video. I look forward to sharing more with you soon. If you found this helpful, give us a like, subscribe, turn on your notifications, and I look forward to talking to you soon.